All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to the Loyola University New Orleans. It's our FNP Open House, so we want to answer any questions you may have about our FNP programs. We have various programs here at Loyola, but specifically we're focusing in on the Family Nurse Practitioner program. And after I do an overview of the FNP programs, I will go ahead and introduce one of our alumni, Dr. Matthew Allred, and he's going to give you some tips and tools as you're an incoming, student into one of our programs, hopefully. And then, of course, you may email me at mplebrun@loyola.edu if you have any questions after this open house overview. So a little bit about myself. I am a family nurse practitioner. I've been practicing since 2011, and I've been teaching at Loyola for over 8 years. So my background's in emergency medicine. I was the lead nurse practitioner in the ED for about 15 years, and then I started my own practice, a family practice clinic. And now I have multiple locations. I have some in Louisiana and then also in Austin, Texas. Another little background of mine is I also have an MPH, so I have practiced as an epidemiologist as well. So that's one of my passions. I teach various courses at Loyola, um, epidemiology, advanced pharmacotherapeutics. That's one of your 3 Ps that you'll be taking at the first part of the program before you get into clinical practicum. And then I am the FNP program director and also the graduate program director. So I am over all programs at Loyola that are graduate, such as like CRNA. We have an acute care program, also have a midwife program, and coming this fall, we'll have a post-psych program as well. And then lastly, our DNP program. And our alumni tonight, he is part of our FNP DNP alumni. So he received his DNP from Loyola as well. So I'll do a brief overview. We have for the FNP program, just the Master of Science. It is a 48 credit program course, so 48 credit hours to complete. You will have approximately 200 practicum hours each semester, and that coincides with your theory courses. There are 4 primary care theory courses, and that is associated with a practicum course. The way we give the online courses is all asynchronous. It is in a format where you can listen to your lectures in your car, while you're having a break at work, things like that. So it's very flexible for someone that is working as an RN. So completely online. There's no on-campus events. However, we do have a brick and mortar institution. So Loyola University is located on St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans. Beautiful campus, and a great area with some great people and also culture. So, but we do have students from all over the United States. We've had students in Alaska, California, New York, just all over. So we welcome all students from all the states. And then, so basically at the end of the program, you will achieve a Master's of Science in Nursing, and you can sit for the Family Nurse Practitioner boards. We do have other courses along with those kind of primary care geared courses. So you will do some statistics, a little bit of epidemiology as well, some health policy. So it's all integrated within our progression here at Loyola. We have a very high board certification pass rate, and I will go through that a little bit of the different certifications you can get. But typically we're 98%, and most of our students pass on their first board certification exam. And then all of our students, 100% of students have found positions after their completion of the program, which is wonderful. So very good job prospect after you complete a degree with us. And we do give you, like in your practicum courses, we do give you the opportunity to do a little bit of specialty hours. Most of your hours are going to be in primary care, but you are in our last, this is a part of our new curriculum. In your last practicum, you are able to possibly do different settings like orthopedics, cardiovascular, respiratory, and pulmonary. So possibly you may be interested in one field rather than primary care. But we do heavily focus our program in primary care. We need more primary care practitioners. So, and then for the FNP board certification, a lot of it is heavily focused on primary care. But we do have courses that integrate pediatrics. So you could do pediatric primary care. Also, we do a little bit of OBGYN, so women's health. A lot of students from our programs have gone on to be primary care providers, but also women's health providers. A lot of our students do go back for postmaster certifications as well. Like we have the master psychiatric program, and then we also have like acute care. So really, it's ideal if you want to do like a dual degree, you can do that as well. All right. And we do have, again, a comprehensive curriculum. So we do have a high rigor in our program. So that means, you do have to study, right? You do have to be very organized. You have to organize your time, especially with, work-life balance. Sometimes that can be difficult. But before you apply and if you're accepted in the program, it's really ideal for you to like look at your work schedule prior to that. How will you achieve those 200 hours within a semester's time? So that turns out to be maybe two clinical days a week, sometimes three. You can do weekends also. So we do try to make it as flexible as possible for you to complete your practicum hours. But it is a comprehensive curriculum. So our goal is to prepare you for board certification. And that's why we have that high pass rate because we are trying to integrate all the learning capabilities that are tested on board certification to make you a wonderful family nurse practitioner. And we integrate, like leadership, population health, all those things that you'll need as you transition into practice. Okay. Again, there's 800 hours of supervised practicum. Basically, to sit for boards, you have to have 500 hours, but a lot of organizations for nurse practitioners are trying to increase that number to 750. At Loyola, we do offer 800 hours, and that's 200 hours again per semester. And then you develop, on-site skills, so say you're doing some urgent care practicum experience, the goal is for you to get experience in suturing, opening up, abscesses like an IND, but also looking at cardiac rhythms, reading EKGs. We have a really great, and it's delivered online. You do get a kit in the mail where you can practice suturing and do EKG reading. So we give you all the tools you need, but you will do a great deal of your clinical work on site. And again, we do offer this program throughout all states. So in your associated state, we do have a practicum coordinator that does help guide the process. So she takes care of contracts, puts information in our system where we kind of log patient hours. It's called Exact Prism. And then she will kind of help coordinate those contracts at the site. So we do help you find a site, but ultimately we do ask the student to reach out to individuals. Maybe you've worked with some family nurse practitioners, outpatient setting. You can rotate with MDs, DOs, PAs. Ideally, we would want you to rotate with family nurse practitioners. as you'll be able to see their scope and their practice, and because that's going to be your scope and your practice. However, we are very open to you doing practicum shifts with like MDs, DOs, and PAs as well. So you will get that practical experience. You do have to have an updated nursing license, an RN license when you apply. Also, we check things like, making sure immunizations required for the site are up to date. Um, and you do like background checks and things like that, as you would for any program. But the practicum is like really hope, we want it to be a well-rounded experience. So I do review all the CVs, all the sites for all the proposed preceptors, just to make sure you're getting a thorough experience. And we do have faculty that sometimes do site visits. If you're within a 50-mile radius of New Orleans, you will have an in-person site visit. Um, Beyond that radius, we do teleconference to meet with your preceptor just to evaluate you. Your preceptor does sign a preceptor agreement form where they will evaluate your practicum experience. And then your associated practicum faculty will review that as well. Okay. National certification eligibility. So there are two boards for family nurse practitioners. That is the American Nurses Credentialing Center, ANCC, or AANP. That's the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners. Both are wonderful board certification organizations. AANP tends to be a little more clinical focused. I have my board certification with AANP. And I believe Dr. Allred does as well, and I'll have him speak to that in a little bit. But they do offer the Family Nurse Practitioner Board that you will sit once you complete all of your FNP courses and practicum. So once you confer that degree, you can go ahead and sit for board certification. Again, successful career outcomes with our program. 100% of our students get positions after they graduate. A lot of times that last practicum experience is a really great experience because it may be that provider you're working with or that organization wants to hire you on after. We've had several students with that occurring, that they love Loyola students. They want them to just stay with them and get a position. So that's our goal too, right? For you to be in a practicum relationship where you could maybe continue that work as a nurse practitioner. We are ranked number 4 for one of the best online master's programs for the Family Nurse Practitioner program, according to the U.S. News and World Report. So super, there's super, happy about that. And I feel proud about our program. There are several online programs to choose from. But what sets Loyola apart is the faculty that's trained, passionate about what we do. Also, we do have a brick and mortar institution, Loyola's campus, where, we have on-campus programs as well, such as our CRNA program. So we are an actual university that you could walk on campus if you would like to. And as a Loyola student, you do have access to the Loyola library. As would an on-campus student, you have access to all of those things. The online library, certain subscriptions you have access to. Some important dates for you guys to remember if you are applying through for August 2025, which is coming right around the corner. We're July 25th. So it is right around the corner. You would apply through the Loyola website. We are moving our application process, though, after that. If you're applying for spring 2026, you would apply through Nursing Cast. And that is all going to be located on our website. And then the application deadline for August 2025, that does close on August 1st. So if you are interested, you have a couple of days to kind of get in your application. You may have already done that already, but just make sure you get the process started. And if you are kind of late putting your application, I do make some considerations because your first semester You don't technically have to do any clinical practice. So you would start just your theory courses. So you can start that once the semester starts mid to late August. And then the application for nursing CAS for spring, summer, and fall of 2026 will open on August 1st. So they're not open right now, but if you're considering spring, summer, or fall of next year, then after August 1st, you can apply. And then we do interviews. We will send an acceptance letter if you're accepted in the program, and then hopefully start our program and get started with the work of, and goal of being a family nurse practitioner. Okay. All right. And just again, just want to reiterate to everyone, it is a fully online program. It's asynchronous. We do have a comprehensive curriculum. You have a great deal of practicum experience with 800 hours. That is a difference with other programs. So you get a great deal of practicum experience. And then we cover, individuals from, birth to the elderly, family practice. We see all walks of life. We see all major insurances in some of our facilities, deliver care across the continuum of a family. Okay. And then again, once you complete the program, we are an accredited institution. You can sit for boards. So you will obtain your degree from an accredited program. And then be able to sit for boards and get your nurse practitioner license within your state. Okay. There are some states that do have some restrictions with practicum. There's very few, but we do have a map on our website that shows you the states that do have some difficulty with having students. Number one is New York. We are unable to provide practicum experience in New York. Typically, our New York students do practicum in New Jersey or Connecticut or a surrounding area. Another area is Washington, D.C. They are not accepting applications for out-of-state students to do practicum in D.C. But we do have a more exhaustive list on our site. If you have any questions about your state, feel free to email me, and then I'll email you right away and give you that information. All right. So now I would love to introduce Dr. Matthew Allred. He is a former graduate of Loyola. Again, he was in our FNP DNP program. He does practice in family practice right now. He was an excellent student, as he is an excellent provider. So, Dr. Allred, if you would like to take it away and give some tips and tools to our future students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. LeBron. Hello,
Absolutely.
everyone. I'm honored that Dr. LeBron would allow me to come on and talk with you all today. I want to touch on a bunch of the things that she was talking about throughout the PowerPoint, things that I can relate to, connect to. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started out my career. I graduated in 2018 from Mississippi College, and I went right into the ICU where I practiced for 18 months, and then I started travel nursing, and I traveled initially to South Louisiana, to New Iberia. I ended up in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Montgomery, Alabama, Port Arthur, Texas, Coldwater, Mississippi, Greenville, Mississippi, and then I practiced all over my hometown of Monroe as well. And most of my experience was ICU based, and part of the factor of why I wanted to go back to school was that I felt that all of my efforts throughout my 12-hour shifts at the hospital at that point in my career was exhausted and generated to try to create a positive impact on the lives of the families, that a lot of our patients were on ventilators. And I just wanted to be able to increase my ability to, with the efforts that I exhaust, to be able to generate a positive impact on the lives of others. So I talked with my wife, and she said, well, it sounds like you may want to go and be an FNP. So I got to thinking about it, and I talked to some mentors, and that's how I think that's when Dr. LeBron and I first met, was during my interview process. So, and I was convinced I wasn't getting in, but here we are 3 years later. So that's how it started for me as far as when and why I wanted to go back. And then, as I think back through the program and hearing Dr. LeBron talk about the program, if I had to reflect on it, it reminds me of something that I told my current employer which when I first got hired, and I told him that I can't help what I don't know at this point in time, but I can control how well I prepare for the patients, right? Before the day starts, whether it's going through their charts, what did we last see them for? What were we currently doing for them? What's our backup plan if what we're doing is not working, right? And those are all things that are, staples in the program at Loyola, is that you're going to prepare well because what we do is bigger than ourselves, right? And that was something that I may have struggled with in my undergrad program, in my BSN program, was that I felt that I was trying to accomplish at that time, get a grade because I wanted it to be a reflection of what I did, correct? And the efforts that went into it. I wanted my grade to reflect it. But at Loyola, one of the things I can brag about in the program was that there are several key professors that are so passionate about what they teach that I began to study not only to pass the test or to learn a little bit of content and get the grade and have the grade reflect the effort that went into it, but I didn't want to let my professors who were so passionate about the material, I didn't want to let them down, right? And I felt like I did if I didn't score well. So, and I'll give some tips. And, I learned how to study for exams in this program. Dr. LeBron was talking about what are some tips for new students within the program. And the biggest one that I can give anybody who does start is, when you're studying for your pathophysiology, your pediatrics or maternity, your health assessment, just understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think that's where I was coming up short in my undergraduate program, was I would try to learn 100% of the content on my first read through. So for any prospective students, read some content. And if you come across what you feel like could be a key point, or maybe there are several points throughout chapters that build upon a certain key point, write those points down, right? And learn those key points, build a foundation, right? Don't build the whole house at once, build you a foundation. Learn something about the material and then go back to the material once you have a fundamental understanding of what you feel, or you read something and you say that could be important, that perhaps would be tested on. Write those things down, review them, learn them, commit them to memory so that you know that you've learned content, right? About whatever that content may be. You've committed something to memory that may help your patients down the road. Dr. LeBron and I were talking before the recording, and I said, I think that's what changed when I got into the program here at Loyola, was that, the efforts that we exhaust on a daily basis in the medical field are so much bigger than us, right? And it gives us the platform and the ability to generate a positive impact on the lives of other people, right? So that means that your efforts matter. What you do day in and day out matter, and they affect other people's lives. And when you start to study for that test, not for your grade, right? Or not just so you can say, I learned two or three things about the content, but because you're aware that it's going to change the lives of thousands and thousands of patients in every walk of the healthcare field you could be in, right? It could be health assessment, it could be pediatrics, maternity. Dr. LeBron talked about every program that they offer, and just in the FNP, you're going to get a taste of it all. Because you may have a patient, this week I had a stingray, and I live in North Louisiana. I had a stingray come in, so you never know what you're going to see. And I think that's the exciting thing about being an FNP. As far as being prepared and how Loyola prepared me, it prepares you to work with various types of medical professionals that you're going to encounter as an FNP, right? So it could be a DO, it could be an MD. My current employer is an MD. I can speak to her point about getting hired. In my second year in the program, I was able to follow an MD who specializes in primary care. And I treated every day that I went there like it was a tryout. And I just knew that he was never going to need any help. But at the end of it, our practice is located 3 miles from a program that has an FNP program. And at the end of the day, when he decided he wanted a mid-level, he said it was going to be me or nothing. So it's a great honor to be that way and to be somewhere where you're wanted for the skills that you've acquired in a program like Loyola. So the being at Loyola, you're going to be prepared to work with my women's health program. Like I can, for my patients, if somebody's in need, there's 2 or 3 professionals in our area that I may now be aware of that I could send them to if it's something I'm not comfortable treating. You're going to be able to work with pediatricians, perhaps, or nurse practitioners that specialize in pediatrics. And you're going to be able to work with professors who are passionate about what they teach. In my health assessment course in particular, I would study far more than I ever would for myself because it would just break my heart if I did not score well on the content that somebody who was passionate about teaching that subject, right? Everything she put into it, I wanted to be able to show that she created a difference, and now I see things in my practice and I think of that particular professor, and it's like, you know what? When it's bigger than yourself, you're going to be able to generate an impact at such a greater scale, than I perhaps would have ever been able to achieve, just studying for own personal accomplishment. So, going back, you're right, Dr. LeBron. I am certified through the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners. And I passed on the first try. And that's something that seeing now, I did not realize I mean, I'm aware of other FNPs that came out of other programs and the struggles that they've had. But that's a big deal because if you invest 2, 3 years of your time and it comes down to, a certification exam that says, okay, you're now competent to do what you've prepared to do for 2 or 3 years, or you're not. You want to know that at the end of the day, you've put yourself in the best position to pass it on the first time. Let's allow that to be as the little of an issue as we can, by positioning yourself well in a program like Loyola. Um, and Dr. LeBron, am I missing anything?
No, I think that's great, Matthew. And if you want to just touch on a little bit on, like the time management
Oh,
for the
yeah.
courses. So, like, work-life balance, if you want to touch on that a little bit, and I think that would be good.
Absolutely. So in the program, I did not actually have to come to campus one time. I did come for a ceremony. Is it Sigma Theta Tau, I believe. So I was able, it's a beautiful campus. I wouldn't have imagined that it was as beautiful as it was.
Mhm.
And so I was able to come there one time, but my particular program was 3 years. And I continued to travel nurse through 2.5 of them. So it can be done, but you have to start, the biggest thing for me, the biggest change is when I decided that I wasn't going to learn 100% of the content and the courses. And for me, it started in pharmacology. You have at that point of your life, it might be the largest amount of content, right, on a single exam that some people may have ever experienced. So just start small, right? So I would get everything that I thought was a high point or was the first line drug, I would commit those to memory first. And, those I would learn. Wouldn't look at anything else until I had that, but you got to start that 2 weeks in advance, right? Once you have that committed to memory, now you have a foundation. The other things that are left in the content that you still need to know are going to be committed to memory with greater ease because you have that foundation that you didn't previously have, right? And then you're just brushing up 2, 3 nights for the test. You're just brushing up on it. And all it is you're hitting that content. You say, okay, this content's going to take me 45, maybe it takes you 20, 30 minutes to go through just the key points, right? And you know, if you're going to do a comprehensive review, you factor those hours into it because that's going to take hours being a comprehensive review. But then you get into a process of, okay, 10 days before the test, I do this. 7 days before the exam, I do this. And by that last day, you're not crunching. You have your foundation built. You may go do another comprehensive assessment or two to build on the knowledge that you've committed to fundamental memory. And then you take those things with you with confidence into the exams, and then you'll make yourself happy, your faculty happy. You'll be able to tell, in my case, I was able to, I felt like my colleagues in the various ICUs. And when I was travel nursing, I worked in the medical floors, telemetry floors. They put me in Jerry Psych, and they would tend to stick me in the ER quite a bit as well. So at some point, you feel like you have an entire hospital that's like, Matt's psychology's exam is coming up, and they want to know how you did. So again, when it's about more than you, which everything in the medical field is, then you're going to be able to do things perhaps, or at least for me, it was that way, and I hope it will be that way for all of you interested in the program. You're going to accomplish things that you never thought or dreamed that you perhaps would have the opportunity to accomplish. And so Wow, it's just thinking back on it, just that so many people became invested. It seems small along the way, but when you look back on it, that you have an entire family of people that may have been with you when you first started as a brand new baby nurse, trying to prove competent, but not making assumptions that would put people's lives in danger, because we all fought with that in year one as a nurse, correct? And so, you're going to have an entire family, your medical family that's cheering you on to be able to position yourself to be able to have your efforts create that positive impact that we're looking to do for so many patients, right? I mean, it's quite literally thousands. If you become a primary care provider, you're going to help thousands and thousands of people, and you're going to see colleagues, you're going to see friends, and you're going to see their children and their grandparents and their parents. And so this thing, it's about, it gives us the opportunity to have our efforts be so fulfilling and that we have the ability to help so many people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Alred. That was wonderfully said. And, he completed his FNP and DNP. So that is a difficult task. Not many people obtain their doctorate, in the United States alone, there's a very small percentage. So, and then now he's a wonderful practitioner in family practice. So we are super proud of him.
We're getting there.
And we're getting there. We're getting there. Hey, I still learn every day. I still review things. You have to still, and their medicine is innovative. There's new medicines out there. There's new therapy. So, doing continued education, we're always learning. So we don't always know everything. We always have to kind of, either ask a colleague or, a lot of things that students have a difficult time with in the beginning is consults, like consulting with a cardiologist or an orthopedic. When they were in the nurse role, it's a very different dynamic, right? So I think getting comfortable in those like consults, all very important, but it does help you, right? Because say you're doing family practice, you may need that cardiologist, their insight to help with it's a combined team effort to take care of the patient. That's the number one goal is making sure you're the hub for the patient, right? As an FNP, and then they can branch off into different specialties if needed, if it's something that, that you need further diagnostics on or things like that. So,
Yep.
but thank you so much, Dr. Allred.
Absolutely.
Thanks everyone for listening. Yes, for our open house. Please feel free to email me with any questions or concerns, or if you have any questions for Dr. Allred, you can send those to me and I can send them to him also.
You can put
He
me in.
um he has ample amount of time right now. He's a busy guy. Yes, absolutely. But thank you all for watching this video and our FNP orientation. And we do welcome you to apply to Loyola. We would love to have you and help you become the family nurse practitioner you would love to be. So thanks everyone for joining.